On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame.
Welcome to Theophony's Good Friday service. Today, we have in our midst Pastor Kalanidhi Samuel to take us through a devotional Bible study on the 7 words of Jesus on the cross. Now, on to the first word. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Today is celebrated as Good Friday all over the world. This is a day when everyone, as believers, as Christians, we remember the death of our Lord Jesus Christ. While Jesus was hanging on the cross, he spoke 7 words, and each of these words have an important lesson to teach us. The first word that Jesus uttered from the cross is found in Luke chapter 23, verses 33 and 34. Luke 23, 33 and 34. Jesus cried out saying, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." This was the first cry of Jesus from the cross. We must remember that this cry fell from the lips as he was being crucified. Crucifixion was one of the most horrifying forms of torture ever devised by mankind. The Latin word for cross is crus, and it is from this word that the word excruciating is derived. In the midst of his excruciating suffering, the heart of Jesus was focused on others rather than himself. It was customary for those being crucified, when the nails were being driven into their hands and feet, to cause their crucifiers and to rail them down over every evil thought upon them. But how did Jesus react as he was being crucified? Not with protest, but with a prayer. He cried out saying, "Father, forgive them." How astonishing that in the midst of such distressing circumstance, our Lord's first thoughts should be directed towards his Father. Men could hammer the life out of him, but they could not hammer the love out of him. The first word of Jesus from the cross is a word of forgiveness. That's the point of the cross after all. Jesus not only asked his Father to forgive his enemies, the soldiers who scourged him, mocked him, tortured him, and railed him to the cross, but could this not only apply to his companions who deserted him, to Peter who denied him 3 times, to the fickle crowd who only days before praised him on his entrance to Jerusalem, and then days later shouted, "Crucify him"? Could this not also apply to us who daily forget him in our lives? All the height of his physical suffering, his divine love prevails, and he asks his Father to forgive his enemies. Right up to his final hours on earth, Jesus preached and practiced forgiveness. He taught forgiveness in the Lord's Prayer. When asked by Peter, "How many times should we forgive someone?" Jesus replied, 70 times 7. He gave the paralytic man. He forgave the adulteress caught in the act and about to be stoned. All through we see the nature of his love, which is unconditional and divine. The nature of man is to sin, but the nature of God is to forgive. Jesus was more focused on the spiritual need of those who were crucifying him. Though these Roman soldiers did not deserve forgiveness, yet Jesus forgave them. We are to forgive others just as Jesus forgives us. As we focus on Christ crucified, we see that he is filled with love in the first words he uttered on the cross. He still intercedes for us before the Father for forgiveness. If you need forgiveness in your life, look to Jesus. Or if you need to forgive someone, then Christ can fulfill you and fill you with His love and His spirit of forgiveness so that you can be forgiven and also be able to forgive others. Jesus' first cry on the cross was, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." His spirit of forgiveness reaches out to us even today. He is able to forgive every one of us, no matter how bad we may be, no matter what degree of sins we may commit. But when we look to Him, Jesus says, "I truly forgive you." Jesus' first cry on the cross was a cry of forgiveness, even as He uttered, "Father, forgive them, because they do not know what they are doing."